Hello and welcome to this episode of Tuesdays with Liz, a disability policy for all. Today I'm here with Michelle Bishop, who is the manager for voter access and engagement at the National Disability Rights Network. It's everyone's right as a U.S. citizen to vote. So we're going to talk about voting. Thank you for being here today, Michelle.
Thanks so much for having me, Liz. And it's kind of cool that it's Tuesdays with Liz because elections are also on Tuesdays.
Oh, I never thought about that. But yeah, my
Right.
first question is, why is voting important?
That's a great question to start with because I talk about voting all day, every day, because that's my job. But we spend so much time talking about how to vote and all those types of things, and we don't necessarily start with why you should vote in the first place and why it matters at all. So I love starting with that question. I think that it matters because voting is a right that we have, and all of our other rights kind of depend on it. When we use our vote and we get to say who is going to be the president, who's going to be your senator, who's going to be your representative, all the way down to your mayor, your county sheriff, whoever it is, they make a lot of decisions every day that affect people with disabilities and what kind of choices we have and what kind of opportunities we have and rights we have. And if we don't use our vote, then people will get elected to do those jobs who don't necessarily think about people with disabilities or think about our community when they're doing the work that they do. I think a lot about how long there's been a disability rights movement and how far we've come. So many people with disabilities now live in the community. We go to work every day. We have real meaningful lives. We're leaders in our communities. And if we don't use our vote to protect that, we could start going backward. And I don't think anyone wants that, right? I don't think anyone wants to go back to having fewer opportunities to live and work in the community and be part of your family, your church, your workplace, whatever it is that really matters to you. So to me, that's what I think about when I go vote. And who you vote for is always up to you, but thinking about, who am I voting for today that I think is going to protect those things that really matter to me as a person with a disability? When I listen to these candidates, who is saying things that line up with how I see the world and what I want to happen, it's really, really powerful. I think sometimes we don't understand because it seems like it's just your one little vote. How big of a deal could that be? But your one little vote gets added to tens of millions of other votes, and that's really powerful. And I don't think we always understand how truly powerful each vote can be.
Thank you. What do people need to do to make sure that they can vote?
That's a great question too, because we've got plenty of time right now. If you're getting ready for the general election, which election day will be in November, maybe you have some early voting or things like that where you are that could be in October. We've got a little bit of time to figure it out. The first thing you need to do is make sure that you're registered to vote. In every state except for North Dakota. North Dakota doesn't make you register to vote, but every other state does. And so you have to make sure you've done that. If you're not registered, there's usually a deadline, and it's different depending on where you live. It could be as much as 30 days before the election. There could be a deadline like early in October. Some states let you register on the day of the election and vote that same day. So you want to know what those rules are and make sure you're registered. If you're listening and you're thinking, I'm already registered to vote, that's awesome. But you want to go ahead and check it and make sure, because you can usually go to the website for elections in your state and look yourself up. And you want to make sure I'm still registered, I still show up, and everything is still up to date, right? My name hasn't changed, my address hasn't changed, because if any of those things have changed, you still have time to make sure that your registration is all up to date. So when you show up to vote, you're on there and everything looks correct when they check you in to vote. is the first thing you need to do always. Get registered or check your registration. After that, it's all about just making your plan to vote. You want to think through the whole process. If I'm going to vote in person, I got to figure out, where is my polling place? Is that polling place going to be accessible to me based on whatever it is that I need to make it work for me? How am I going to get there? Do I want someone to come with me to help me to vote? And who is that person going to be? How am I going to get home after I vote? My favorite part is, how am I going to celebrate my vote? I like to put on my I voted sticker and take a selfie and put it up online and brag to everyone about how I voted. But it could be anything you want. I always think an ice cream sundae is also an acceptable way to celebrate having cast your vote. So you want to think through everything that you're going to need, including things like, depending on where you are, what type of ID might I have to show, right? In some states, you have to have a photo ID, like a driver's license or something like that. And in some states, it could be as simple as like your an electric bill or a gas bill that has your current name and address on it. So you want to know also what it is that you need to bring with you and make sure you're ready for all that. It's a lot to think about. I know, making a plan to vote, there's resources out there to help you do it. And you can also go to our website. I'm with the National Disability Rights Network. So it's www.ndrn.org. And it has a link you can click on up in the top left, where you can find our organization in your state. We have a network of disability rights organizations. They're in every state, every territory, and the District of Columbia. So if you're thinking, I've got to figure out what the rules are in my state, when do I have to get registered by? What am I going to have to bring with me? What's going to be on my ballot? And all those things, they can help you figure that out. And the last thing I would say you want to think about before you go to vote is, what is on my ballot and who am I going to pick, right? Who are the candidates and which one do I want to vote for? And know that going in, it makes it so much easier. Sometimes it can be, if you're not a regular voter, might be a little intimidated or a little nervous about going to vote on election day. That's totally normal. That happens to everybody. Sometimes I even get nervous, and I've done this many, many times. So if I feel like I know what I'm going to mark on my ballot when I go in there, it just makes everything easier. It's just one less thing to worry about.
Thank you. How can people vote if they will not be home on election day? They might be at the conference. They might be on a vacation.
I'm happy for them if they're on a vacation. I will be jealous because I'm working on election day. But everyone else, go enjoy. So you don't usually have to worry if you're not going to be home on election day. There's always other options. What you can do depends on where you live. In a lot of states, they have what's called early voting, which just means you don't have to go on one day. We're going to have voting open for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So if that's something they have where you live, you just have to know, when are they doing early voting? The dates are going to be different everywhere. How long they offer it. Sometimes they don't have it for the last couple days before election day, like the Sunday or Monday before election day, they might not have early voting open. And where? It might not be your normal polling place that you go to on election day. Sometimes for early voting, they have fewer locations open. So there's somewhere you can go, but it might not be, if I usually go to my library down the street to vote, that might not be it. I might have to go to a government building that's a little further away or something like that. So you want to make sure you make your plan for that. That can be really helpful, though, if you really want to vote in person, which a lot of people do because it's kind of fun and exciting and you feel like you're a part of it. And I love getting my sticker. I already said that, but I do. I love getting my sticker. It gives you more time, early voting, right? If you've got to figure out like transportation, like how am I going to get there? Do I have a car? Do I need to take a bus? Is someone going to take me there? Someone needs to come with me to assist me. You might have 2 to 3 weeks where you can figure that out, make it happen instead of being stressed about trying to make it work on one day, which I love. All states, even if they don't have early voting, they should have some type of something that they either call absentee voting or vote by mail. That just means that if you are not going to be at home to vote on election day, you can get a ballot ahead of time that they'll send to you in the mail. In some states, they might even send it to you like over email and send you an electronic one. But either way, they should at least be able to send it to you by mail. You fill it out, and then you have different options for how you send it back. You can put it in the mail. You want to know the deadlines because it might have to arrive by election day or be postmarked. You know, they stamp it when they receive it by election day. You might have drop boxes in your state that are set up in different locations where it just kind of looks like a mailbox, except it's just for ballots that you can drop your completed ballot into. You can usually take it to the elections office. You might be able to take it to an early voting site to drop it off. So you have a lot of different options for how you return that ballot as well. You just want to know what's available for you where you are. One of the things I really like about this, if it's difficult for you to get to and from the place where you're supposed to go and vote, if that is a nerve-wracking process for you, if it's not accessible to you, your polling place is one that just doesn't work for you, this is another option that you can usually use. In some states, you have to give a reason why you're going to use a vote by mail-in or absentee ballot. Some states you don't at all. You can just ask for it and use it if that's what you prefer. But even in states where you have to give a reason, being a person with a disability is a reason that you can check off. One of the things I really like about this, if you're nervous about voting, is that you get the ballot ahead of time and you get to sit down with it at home and study it and really look through it. So now I know for a fact, like, what's on my ballot, and I have time to go online and research or watch a debate or whatever it is to figure out how I want to mark the ballot. I'm not, there in person and I've only got a few minutes and I've probably done my research ahead of time. You really get to work with your ballot. I often vote this way because I have to work all day on election day and not always where I vote. I live in Virginia and I work in Washington, D.C. So I can't always get to a polling place. I really sit down and like research my ballot when I get it ahead of time and vote by mail. And I find that really helpful. So if you're thinking, oh my gosh, all of this is a lot, that might be a good option for you. But just because you're not going to be home on election day doesn't mean you don't get to vote. Definitely find out ahead of time what options you have where you are, and there's going to be something that works for you. The nice thing about when you go to vote in person also is that if it's hard for you to mark that piece of paper for whatever reason, they have the machine there that can help you mark your ballot when you go to vote in person. That's what I prefer to use when I vote in person. I think it's so much easier to just say boop, 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 and touch on the screen who I want to vote for, and I'm done. Because I get really nervous. I don't know about you, Liz, but I get really nervous when I have to fill in that little bubble that, like, what if I'm not doing it right? Like, did I do it too light or too dark? Or did I like go out of the lines? And like, I don't like to do all that. So if I go vote in person, I like to just use the touch screen. I think it's so much easier, but it has a lot of things like it can make the font really big for you, like the print size, it can make bigger and do large print. You can listen to the ballot through a headset. It's got all kinds of accessibility features. So the best thing you can do is just make your plan to vote ahead of time and think about, what do I need to make voting work for me? And then figure out what options you have where you are and do whatever works for you. That's the beauty of how we run our elections. We have a whole bunch of different options so that people can figure out what's going to work for them.
Thank you. And the bottom line is we need to vote.
We do.
The bottom line. Anyway, you want, whether I mail in person, vote, 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 vote. As my friend Justin Starr says, and maybe she's your friend, but he would say, vote as your life depends on it, because it does.
It really does. It really does. Whatever it is that you need to do to be able to make your vote happen, you just got to make that vote happen. There's something out there that's going to make it work for you, even if you have to check out ahead of time and figure out what that's going to be, but it's worth it. And nothing should stop you from voting. And if you have any other questions, or even if it's like election day and you have questions or something goes wrong, there's phone numbers you can call. I talked about going to our website, ndrn.org, and finding our organizations in every state. You can absolutely call them even on election day. They will help you. There's also a national hotline. It's called 866 Our Vote. So that's 866 OURVOTE. That's just a hotline that's open all during voting that you can call, even if you just have a question, a simple question that you're not sure who can answer it. You can call them and they'll look it up for you. Or if you're actually having a problem voting on election day, you can call and they'll help you problem solve that. So just make sure you have your resources ready when you go to vote. and it'll be much more of a breeze than you think 9 times out of 10. So it's absolutely worth it. I agree. Vote as if your life depends on it.
Thank you, Michelle, for your time, and I look forward to talking with everyone next time. Have a great week. Bye.
Thanks so much for having me. Bye, y'all.